Welcome back to the award-winning Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com. The guest list continues. As we announced last week, we are very pleased to welcome one half of one of the best tag teams I would say in the world today, Dave Hero. Bobby Roode, Robert Roode of Beer Money Incorporated of TNA Wrestling. Mr. Roode, welcome to the Pro Wrestling Report for the very first time.
It is my first time. Thanks for having me on.
You know, Damon, you forgot to say he's one of the TNA originals, even back when it was NWA TNA.
I didn't forget. I was leaving it for you.
You know, part of Team Canada with Scotty D'Amore,
yes.
Coach D'Amore. You know, fantastic. And now he's working with Ric Flair in Fortune.
What a difference, huh? Scott D'Amore and Ric Flair.
That's exactly the first thing that crossed my mind.
Rags
it's like,
to riches.
Wow, yes, you have. You have gone from, well, let's just say you're now in the penthouse. How does that sound?
That sounds good to me.
Well, as of late, and I would think that one of the biggest things that has happened in Beer Money's run so far was that best of 5 series of just a little while ago with the Motor City Machine Guns. A lot of people say tag team wrestling is no more. A lot of people say tag team wrestling doesn't get the focus that it once got. I think that TNA and yourself made it crystal clear that that was not the case in that tremendous series of matchups between you, James Storm, and the Motor City Machine Guns. And what did it feel like to be a part of such great wrestling action and to get the accolades from the wrestling community on that series of matchups?
It was a really good feeling. It was, TNA really, gladly, for my sake, really focused on tag team wrestling. And, it was just a matter of time. The timing was right, I think, for Beer Money and the Motor City Machine Guns to do what we did. And, the best thing about it is that, we're all 4 guys, we're all TNA originals. We started in the company back in the old Nashville days, all 4 of us. Just to be able to go out there and be given the time on television, be given the opportunity, for a month and a half to go out there and perform each and every week. And the toughest part is we always had great chemistry together, and we always had great matches in the past. But this was a time for us to really go out and shine. And the toughest part was we had to outdo every match that we did. And the opening match that we had was the ladder match, and that was we got praise for that. And then the next week we had to come back out and top that, and week after week we had to find new things to do and like I said, top the last match. And our chemistry and our work ethic was so good, and everything kind of gelled together. And in my mind, the thing that sticks out the most is when we came back from, I think it was the Ultimate X match, the 4th match that we had. When we walked through the curtain, the first guy to shake my hand was Ric Flair, who came up to me, and Mick Foley actually was right after him and said that was the greatest tag match that they've ever seen. So coming from a guy like Ric Flair and Mick Foley and what they've seen and what they've done in their careers, for them to say that to me and James and the other 2 guys, Shelley and Saban, was something that I'll never forget, and probably the most rewarding part of it. And
Ric Flair, a guy that's been in many a tag team matches, and best friends with Arn and Tully, who he always said was the greatest tag team of all time.
Right.
It's almost safe to say that you guys have taken that Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard team and you've made it better. Yeah,
it's funny the way it's worked out. When James and I first started tagging together, we were kind of, the name Arn and Tully, came across all the time. That people were reminded of Arn and Tully when they saw us in the ring. And when Rick came to TNA, it was a surprise. I remember the first night, he was there. It was the live Monday night show, and nobody knew he was coming in. Like, none of the boys knew he was coming in. And it was a live shot where a limousine pulled up, and it was like 5 seconds before the door opened that we actually knew it was Ric Flair, and Rick walked out. And all of a sudden, it was kind of right there. It was there for the taking. We could form this, this thing that what is now Fortune. The new 4 Horsemen type of thing with James and I as the Arn and Tully, and we got AJ, and Rick being the J.J. Dillon of it all, and it was real fitting. And it's
so are you calling Matt Morgan Lex Luger?
Yeah, or Barry Windham.
Right.
We could throw that around there, sure. But the best thing about it is getting an opportunity to work with Rick. And if you would have asked me, last year at Bound for Glory that I'd be standing in the ring with Ric Flair next year at Bound for Glory, I'd say you're crazy. But, it's great the way it's worked out.
And you know what's interesting? We've had a lot of people on the show, and a lot of people, we'll ask them, who is that breakout star? Who is that next big thing, if you will? Who is the big thing in the company, TNA or WWE? And every time when referencing TNA, your name comes up.
And
really?
And it's Billy Gunn, it's Road Dogg, it's Kevin Nash.
Al Snow, Ken Anderson.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that means a lot, coming from those guys. And, I hope, someday, I mean, I get the question all the time when I do these interviews about if I ever want to go out on my own and try to be a world champion. And, it's simple. I mean, I think you ask anybody in the business, I think you'd be crazy not to want to be a world heavyweight champion. That's one of the reasons why I got into the business, is to be a world champion. But right now, I couldn't be happier being a part of Beer Money, tagging with James Storm. I think, without a doubt, this is the most success that I've ever had in my career. Same with James. I mean, he had a great run with Chris Harris with A&W. But I think we've really gone over and above what they ever did. And we're on a good roll right now. And, being with Ric Flair has helped. And I think that being associated, last year when we had a great run with Team 3D, probably the greatest tag team of all time, really put us on the map. And now the series of matches with the Motor City Machine Guns has really put us on the map as well again. So, one day, hell, I'd love to be a world champion.
You know what a lot of people don't see, and we've had the opportunity to be at some shows and to see the preparations going into it. Bobby Roode, I got to say, you're a machine. You're up until showtime, you're working out, you're in the zone, and it really translates well into the in-ring performance, obviously. Do you ever take a break?
I do, but I working out and stuff like that. I mean, that's one of my hobbies. I don't have very many hobbies. It's pretty much my only hobby that I do.
Keeps you out of trouble, huh?
Yeah, it keeps me out of trouble. And when I'm home off the road, I spend my time with my family. And and I'm a hockey dad. Being in Canada, my kids all play hockey, so I'm a hockey dad and a lacrosse dad in the summer, and I spend as much time as I can with my kids. And I enjoy working out, and I'm very passionate about the business, and I feel like working out and training and eating right and dieting is a big part of it. So that's just the way I am.
We saw the in-ring interview with Fortune and Tommy Dreamer, and Tommy mentioned about how you were a big fan of Curt Hennig and Rick Rude growing up. Is it safe to say that very few guys today appreciate a Curt Hennig or a Rick Rude and appreciate that 70s, 80s, early 90s style of ring psychology?
I don't know. I mean, that's a tough question. I mean, I know a lot of guys that are have the same mindset as I do. I mean, James is one of them. I mean, I think that's why we click so well, is that we're both very old school, and we rely a lot on psychology. There are a few of us left out there, which is great. I just come from a very, I guess I'm very old school. I was brought into the business, trained in the business that way, brought up in the business that way, and I had some formal training with a little bit with Sean Morley, Val Venus, when I first broke in. He broke me in, and then with Shane Sewell after that. But I really didn't train very long one-on-one with those guys. I kind of was pretty much self-taught, which I wouldn't advise anybody. But I mean, I studied DVDs and I studied tapes, and and two of the guys that I watched was Curt Hennig and Rick Rude, more so Curt Hennig. I was a huge fan of Curt Hennig, and I have hours and hours of his footage that I still watch to this day. So, I'm, like I said, very old school, and psychology to me is probably one of the most important things in this business. And it's a lost art, unfortunately. And I mean, a lot of guys, especially on the independent scene, don't even know what psychology is.
Right.
And it sucks, and to me, it's ruining the business.
And I think that's what made your matches with the Machine Gun so good, is because those matches told a story.
Yeah.
Each one of them.
Well, that's the thing, is that when you get time, like I said, we were really happy that TNA management was able to give us the time and go out there and tell a story. And it's hard sometimes when you're watching a TV show and the segment lasts 3 or 4 minutes. It's really hard to tell a story, but whenever you get a chance to have some time, I always imply good psychology into the matches, and that's just the way that I was brought up and broke into the business that way.
Next Thursday night, TNA Impact will be live going into TNA Bound for Glory, which is next Sunday night. Lots of surprises planned, if you will. We got Jeff Jarrett on the show next week. We're going to try to get some of those surprises out of him. I doubt he'll tell us, but we'll try anyways. But a big show coming from TNA, Live Impact, and then Bound for Glory on October 10th. Bound for Glory, obviously the biggest show on TNA's lineup each and every year. What are you looking forward to most of being on the beach for that show? Well, not literally on the beach, but the show is in Daytona Beach for that show. Bound for Glory next Sunday on pay-per-view.
Bound for Glory, like you said, it's the biggest night of the year for our company, and we every week, every other week we go down into Orlando and we do our TV tapings at the Impact Studios, which is our home and which is a great place. Is a great place. But anytime that we get a chance to move outside the Impact Zone and go to a different arena and perform in front of different people, and it just gives a different feel for everybody in the back, and all the boys look forward to going out there and trying to steal the show. And Bound for Glory is going to be a great night, Daytona Beach, right there on the beach. It's going to be a lot of fun. The excitement's in the air already. I mean, we got a live show coming up next Thursday before the Glory, and when it's live, you never know what's going to happen. And Bound for Glory, it's going to be a huge night. I think a lot of big things are going to happen in the way of with the main event, the triple threat main event, and of course with Fortune going against EV2 inside a steel cage. There's who knows what's going to happen. It's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a brutal match.
There's no doubt. I mean, there's no doubt it's going to be a brutal match. I was actually at this Lethal Lockdown match. I've been a part of, I think, the last 4. Mm-hmm. And they're brutal. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Yeah. I mean, they are brutal. It's an unforgiving cage.
And EV2, those guys are nuts.
You're in the ring with Sabu. I mean, you got Raven and Tommy Dreamer. I mean, these guys are legendary hardcore wrestlers, and I mean, there's no doubt that the odds are stacked against us. But I think we have youth on our side, and we've got Ric Flair on our side, who's the dirtiest player in the game too. So it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen on October the 10th.
And right after Bound for Glory, TNA Wrestling comes to Racine, Wisconsin on October 15th. Big show at Racine's Memorial Hall. Tickets available right now on Ticketmaster.com. As a matter of fact, David, we're going to be giving away 2 tickets to that show later on in the program here, so stay tuned for that. But the TNA Live Event experience is pretty unique. And you and James Storm have had the opportunity to headline and main event a lot of those shows recently. What is it like for the fans coming to a TNA Live wrestling event?
Wow, I mean, a TNA Live wrestling event is really, I mean, I'm not saying this because, it's TNA and that's who I work for, but it really is something special. I mean, it really gives the fans that are there an opportunity to get up and close and personal with all their favorite TNA wrestling stars. It's real, it's not like it is on TV. I mean, it's a real good setting. It's in a real intimate setting where you can get real close to your favorite wrestlers, and there's always surprises. JB, Jeremy Borash, always has surprises each and every night. Mm-hmm. You never know what can happen, and like you said, we've been a part of a lot of live events, and we had an opportunity to main event a few of them in the last couple of weeks with the Motor City Machine Guns. So I'm not exactly sure who's going to be headlining these ones, but I can promise you it's going to be a great show, and you're going to want to get your tickets. That's
October 15th at Racine's Memorial Hall, just a hop, skip, and a jump from Milwaukee, and going to be in Rockford, Illinois the night before, and I know we have a lot of listeners down in the northern Illinois area as well, so be sure to go to that show, Ticketmaster.com to get tickets, or you can go to TNAWrestling.com for all the information on that. Robert Roode, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. We've actually wanted to have you on for quite a while, and it's been a very insightful conversation with you. Looking forward to that live Impact next Thursday night, followed by Bound for Glory live on pay-per-view, 10/10/10, where there are certain to be a lot of surprises, and then we get to wrap it all up on that house show, that live event in Racine on October 15th, which is the Friday following.
Mm-hmm. Busy time.
Yes, indeed. And we'll let you get back to your very busy life. Thank you very much for being a part of the Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN. We look forward to seeing you in Racine on October 15th.
Okay, well, thanks Thanks for having me on, and I will see you in Racine.
Robert Roode, this is the award-winning Pro Wrestling Report on 540 ESPN and ESPNMilwaukee.com.